Hello there, students. How are you today? Well, today is Saturday. It was a rainy day, which I actually loved since we haven't had rain in about 2 months, maybe, since we had some proper good rain. So, despite this whole pandemic, this whole global crisis that's happening, we always got to look at the bright side of things. And the fact that we have a nice rainy day where we can open our windows, breathe some of that that smell of rain. I love it. It's absolutely crazy about it. It's fantastic. But anyways, I hope you've been enjoying your weekend. We have a very interesting upcoming weekend with new challenges. I'm sure you'll get all the information very soon. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. We will be using an application called Zoom.us. With this application, we'll be able to have online classes. And possibly, as we will be experimenting with this, we will have good writing, speaking activities, and many more things that are going to be useful for the FC content. The reason why I'm making this video is because I went over the majority of the writing, speaking mocks. I reviewed every single one for my FC students, and I made a list of the things that we need to work on because there's still quite a few things that we just are not managing correctly and we need to learn from so we can do a lot better in the next speaking activity. So I'll go over that in a moment. But before I do that, because you're at home and you're probably thinking, how am I going to advance or progress with my speaking? How am I going to learn about my speaking now that I'm not going to Discover Academy? Well, it's simple. I made this slide to go over every single step that you need to go from speaking part one to speaking part four. Okay? I will be updating information on it as I see that it needs to have more information. But in the meantime, I want you to just look through it, have it available, and see the type of questions that Cambridge can ask you. So as we move on, you will see that, of course, a speaking checklist, this is something super important in Cambridge, which is the gestures, the posture, your smile, your eye contact, your slant position, your level of interest, your zest, which represents energy, feeling confident, politeness, and then of course you got your verbal parts, which is the connectors to the scores markers, chunks, opinions, agreeing, disagreeing, general discourse chunks, the sequencing like firstly, secondly, finally, okay? And then the intonation and the pronunciation. Oh, I'm gonna go over a lot of these things with the typical mistakes that I found in your speaking mocks. So it's good that you have this as a checklist in the future. You can make a note on it and see that you practice this in your free time. Okay, we're moving on to the next slide. All right, here I have a list of basic phrasal verbs that you have already ideally mastered with me. Okay, so we've gone over all these phrasal verbs. Take a look at them in your free time. Some of them are included in your vocabulary. For example, environment vocabulary, come up with, and others that you might say there like run out of. Okay, moving on. Okay, then you got your idioms list. This is like the basic idioms that we have gone over, so you should be mastering these in your speaking activities, okay? So you have these lists to look at. Okay, then you have the typical like speaking practice, the basics. When you have the interview in part one, these are some of the questions they may ask you, and it's good to know how to respond to these questions. One of the things that I want to mention about this is how do you spell your surname is something that is not going to be asked in your actual exam. I had a meeting with ACA and she confirmed that this is not a question that they ask for B2 level. So it is possible that they'll ask for your name or your surname, and then they'll probably ask where are you from, and then all you have to say is I'm from Lucena, and that's it. You don't have to give a explanation on uh, it's a city in the south of Spain with lots of rich culture. Although we want to talk good about our city, you don't have to extend with more information when you should say I'm from Lucena. Okay. Continuing on with the next one. So information on speaking part one, you know, you can go through that and see how it's done. It will take about 2 minutes for each student. Okay. It gives you a little tip on part one, so take a look into that when you get an answer, when you get a chance. Okay, then you have the questions that they may ask you, divided into different categories, areas where you live or used to live. You can practice these questions with your mind maps and find a way to respond to them using good connectors, good examples, and try not to expand more than a minute when you practice these questions. You want to give good information, but you don't want to go on and on and on and on. You want to give the right amount of information under that minute. So time yourself, try to give a response that's about a minute. You don't want it too short, but you don't want it too long. So a minute, I think it's more than enough to answer these questions that you see on the list. So you have questions on sports, you have questions on leisure activities, family and friends, work and study. You have questions on travel and holidays, and entertainment, technology, daily life, and that's pretty much what I managed to get for now. I'll see if I get some environment questions for you later on. Okay, then we have speaking part two information. It gives you all the information that you need. Remember that, you have to describe two pictures and you have the steps for that, which is refer to the photo, compare, contrast, speculate, and answer the question. I put this here for you, so maybe you can take a screenshot and have this all copied on a piece of paper for your speaking part two. Okay, I gave you extra pictures that we have reviewed before in our workshops, so feel free to use this material as I feel it would help you with good practice from home. All you need is to grab that partner or do it on your own and just compare two photos and time yourself. If you time yourself and try to see, did I manage to do all these steps and answer the question? Then I think you're doing the right thing. Okay, moving on to part three. Again, you have the information of how part three is shown, and then it gives you like all the steps to part three, things that are important. And then you have like different questions that you can use here with different options. And then, for example, now write which two are the best and give reasons. In this case, don't write, just think about it and then give your reasons. Remember that you have a minute after that. You always have that extra question, okay? All right, and then you have the information for part four, which just tells you how it is. The best way you can remember part four, 4 minutes. That's how much time you have with your partner to practice part four. And that is where I'm going with our next topic to not extend too long. These are the common mistakes that every single video, I made a little note of the good and the bad. And of course, I got to highlight the bad mainly because that's what we want to work on to progress. A lot of you did really good, but we're missing some of these aspects that are going to make you improve your English, okay? Or your speaking. I'm sorry, not your English, your speaking, which is important because that's what Discover does. Discover really focuses on helping you with your speaking activity, and that is my job to help you try to focus on great speaking and sounding natural. As you can observe right now, I sound pretty natural and I'm using my body language as I express myself to you. Okay? So, typical mistakes. You're not articulating with words properly. Maybe some of you are like, uh, articulate with words and properly. Okay, open your mouth. Open your mouth. Make the sounds properly. Practice your pronunciation sounds. This is something you can do at home. Go to the Cambridge Dictionary, put in a word that you have difficulties with, and check the pronunciation in both US English and UK English. Practice it, repeat it, and get the rhythm of it. If you have a typical word that you have problems with, do that in your free time. You have lack of active listening. A lot of you are just like listening, and then you're like pretending you're listening, I'm sorry, and then you just, out of nowhere, you just come up with a complete different question or a complete different topic. Some of you are not even looking at your partner. Especially in part one, a lot of you are like, or just moving your legs like this and like that, and your partner's speaking. Look at your partner. Make sure you're giving him eye contact to show the examiner that you're focused here. Stick to your slant position, guys. Slant position. Can you see me well? Slant position. I'm ready to talk to him. I'm ready to use good body language and all these things. Okay, when your partner says something, you respond with a complete different idea. That was a typical mistake. Like again, this is active listening. So I know you're thinking in your mind, what chunk am I going to use? What language am I going to use? But try to take some time to pay attention to what your partner is saying. This is important because if the examiner sees that you come up with a complete different idea from what your partner was saying, it clearly shows that you were not listening to your partner. And active listening is something that you can get good points in. You just have to demonstrate. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I see your point. What's more, and go with that same idea. Don't deviate and go to a complete different subject. If your partner spent 35 seconds, 40 seconds of his time giving you good information related to the topic question, and then you just went on in a whole different direction. Okay? All right. When introducing new ideas, use verbs ing. Okay? As I see it, take up a new hobby, typical mistake. Okay? When you introduce an idea with a verb, make sure it's an ing. Okay? Do not forget that. That goes for your writing too. Okay? However, working, however, taking up, however, like it goes like that. This is how you do it. Verb ing. Typical mistake that I paid attention to in the speaking mocks. Be careful with repetition of words. I heard hobbies, 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 hobbies. Practice, 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 practice. Take up, take up, take up, take up, take up. Come on, guys. What are the synonyms of hobby? Leisure activities, take up, start a new hobby, practice, do something or join a club or something. You can use different substitutes. Think about that. Okay? Yes, use your substitutes for important, crucial, vital, like, crazy about. Come on, guys, you have a list of this. Use that. Okay, slam position when interacting with your partner. Do not forget, do not do slouch position like this. Okay, do not go like this. Head up, chin up, look at your partner, smile, and it's all good. Time management was speaking. A lot of people took a lot of time giving their idea in part four, but didn't give time for your partner to speak. Be careful with that. Okay, make sure your partner has an opportunity to share his ideas with good language as well. This is a balanced conversation. This is not your conversation in part four. It's two people having a conversation. Make sure the time is balanced. Okay, don't forget to smile. A big mistake in the beginning of the conversation, you're like this. My name is Oscar. Come on, smile. That shows confidence. My name is Oscar. Okay, all right. And if your partner freezes, give him or her a hand because that happened a lot. A lot of partners were like, yeah, I know what you're trying to say. Let's move on to and you go on to that other topic, okay? Don't use question chunks that are irrelevant. Okay, I know you want to use good chunks, but don't just use a chunk to use a chunk. Use a chunk that makes sense, that is related to what you're talking about. Okay, don't use something fancy if you don't know how to use it. Be careful with that and go the extra mile and practice with your partner. You have all these notes. These are the typical mistakes. I want you guys to improve on them and practice them in your free time. The video time is almost up. I have created these 3 questions for you to practice with a partner. This is a challenge from me to you. Practice, choose a partner that you feel that you can connect with online, or if you manage to see in person, which right now we don't recommend because of the whole lockdown situation. But there's a website called zoom.us that you can see below. You decide what question you want to answer with your partner, speaking part 4, and time yourself 4 minutes in a conversation using good chunks, using good language. And you can do this. Absolutely. I believe in you. Practice this with a partner, send it to me, and I'll happily give you my feedback on it. Why is taking up hobbies so important for teenagers? The typical question that I asked you for your speaking mocks. A lot of mistakes. Do not repeat hobbies all the time. Think of different substitutes that you can use for that. What are the downsides of technology related to the technology topic that we went over last month? And now, a trending topic. Despite the negative effects of coronavirus has caused, what are some benefits of this experience that it has given us? Wow, I have 10 seconds. Time is running out, but I hope you have a lovely weekend. You're making your time quite productive, and I will see you very soon.